Come on, why are we doing this? Let's do that. Okay, perfect. We align. This morning on the huddle, we're going to be talking about 5 reasons, 5 tips that are going to help you overcome the comparison trap on YouTube. Have you been busy comparing yourself too much to another content creator because you just think they got it all and you think you're coming up short? This morning on the huddle, we got 5 reasons and tips why you need to avoid the comparison trap here on the huddle. Praise the Lord, everyone. Welcome to the huddle. I'm your host, Walter Strong. If you're new here and you want to broaden your reach, your impact, and income through online video, then we want to welcome you to the show. This morning, we have another dynamic guest here on the huddle as we continue in our series on Black Men of Excellence on YouTube 2022. Yes, we're celebrating the life of Dr. Martin Luther King. Yes, we're celebrating the history and accomplishments of Barack Obama, but we need to celebrate some of the top Black content creators that we know on these content streets that are making differences, not just online, but in life. And that's why we created this platform to bring our next guest before you. And so today's guest, he is a human relationship strategist, author, and speaker, social media activist. He is the founder of Charles Jackson Media LLC, a consultancy who helps to equip leaders and guides them to be able to be equipped, educate, and empowered in the gifts that God has given them. He is a person who reaches across racial differences, and he hosts, I'm speaking it today, another Emmy Award-winning author, live stream host. He is the host of Race Talks Uncut. I want to welcome the one, the only, Mr. Charles Jackson II. Good morning, sir.
Man, Walt, you got to stop breaking that fire like that, man. I don't know if I was getting ready for a conversation or a 12-round bout with like Mayweather or Holyfield, man. You bringing the energy and the substance already, my friend. I am excited to be here.
Hey, man, I'm just so glad and humbled just to have you here. And to those of you in the chat that are just chiming in already, we just thank you where you're letting us know where you're watching us from. Individuals like Mr. James Hicks, who was just on last week, and Miss Zanetta Jackson. Is this the lady, the one who made you smile on the picture? I saw a Facebook picture of you with this beautiful queen. Is this the one in the chat?
That will be her, Zanette Jackson. She belongs to me. I belong to her.
Man, let me tell you something. Our wives has a way of just bringing out a smile out of a Black man. That's a live stream in a show about helping Black men smile through the beauty of a woman. That's a show right there. So we want to thank you all for just joining us in the huddle. Charles, do us a favor, those who are on YouTube and those who are going to watch the replay, we're so glad that you will check us out. Let them know a little about yourself and how you found your passion in doing YouTube and live stream shows.
Absolutely, man. Again, honored to be here. Excited for this conversation. Salute to you and your platform and what you've been able to do to bring creators together, impacting lives. I love the conversations that you're having. So for those of you who haven't had the opportunity, I haven't had the opportunity to meet you in these air streaming waves or through some type of medium. I am Charles Jackson, a human relation strategist. And so I like to think of my role as the connector. So you know how businesses struggle to create strong teams and healthy teams within their organizations or even within their communities. Well, I help them solve that problem by teaching them how to create cultures of connections so that people truly feel engaged, feel like they belong, and they have healthier relationships amongst their peers, but then also with their leaders, so that the organization, so that the nonprofit, so that that community event can meet its business goals. And so I've been on this journey really for the last probably about 7 or 8 years to help individuals have healthier relationships. Because I understand that if we can have healthy relationships with those that we are doing life with, then life is just that much sweeter. And that's in
Mm-hmm.
the home, that's in the community, and that's in the workplace. So I lead Charles Jackson Media,
Mm-hmm.
that consultancy. That's through which we do that. And we use media. And specifically, we're talking about leadership, tech, and culture.
Wow, that is awesome. That is awesome, man. Just to have that gift and that ability that God has blessed you with, and man, that is awesome. And so we want to get right into the content because as content creators, we have this desire, whether if it's YouTube or some other platform, we want to grow our platform, our channel, our business, and get views and subscribers. And we admire and look at people from afar. But sometimes we take the admiring from afar and then we look at their likes and shares and we look at the likes and shares that we don't have and we fall into this what I as you've coined the comparison trap. And so before we get into the reasons, I want to give you the platform just to share how the Lord really spoke that into your spirit and why we as content creators need to really be mindful of the comparison trap.
Absolutely. I think it's really important, man. We all are constantly comparing ourselves to others.
Mm-hmm.
And it does a lot of things to us. It does a lot of things to us. Comparison is really what I call a cage that traps
Mm-hmm.
us into feeling either inadequate or arrogant. Inadequate in the sense that we feel like we don't measure up to the standards within our arena. We don't measure up to somebody else that's operating within the same space, that's talking about the same thing I'm talking about, that has the same talents or ambitions that I have and is trying to create the same platform that I have. I feel like I don't have the parenting skills of somebody else. I
Mm-hmm.
feel like I don't have the financial resources that somebody else has or the literacy that somebody else has to scale a business or be an entrepreneur or build wealth, or I don't have the expertise or the educational background to write a book or be seen as a subject matter expert in this area. And we become inadequate.
Mm-hmm.
And that inadequacy ultimately leads to us feeling disappointed and discouraged with our own situation. But it could cause us to be arrogant
Mm-hmm.
because then we begin to think as we look at somebody else's platform, we look at somebody else's um, product, we look at somebody else's uh, services and offerings and the way they're going about things, and we begin to see where they might be falling short, where they could do better, where you got an upper hand on them, where you got a leg up, and you start to feel a little bit arrogant. We think we have it all together, and we think we can go run their business or run their organization or tell them how to do it because we become prideful and boastful. And when you get to that place, you lack humility. And if you don't have any humility, you're going to be arrogant. And so comparison is a cage that is going to trap us into feeling either inadequate or arrogant.
Mm. Wow. So even as a content creator, I'm gonna put myself on blast because I know I've been there. Why am I not getting the views that I posted on this recent video? Why is YouTube not getting me the subscribers for my YouTube channel? Because I think my content is just so much better than everyone else. And I'm busy looking at Mr. James Hicks, who's got perspective focus, and he's got Hicks News Media Live and all these great Emmy Award winning shows, and I'm saying, why is YouTube not pumping up the Huddle? And I'm just in a cage of arrogance,
Yeah,
man.
yeah, yeah,
Wow.
yeah. Absolutely, man. Because when you get to that place, and this is to bring it full circle, once you are trapped in that
Mm-hmm.
cage, and again, if it's the comparison and you're feeling inadequate, you tend to back off, you pump the brakes, you stop, you give up,
Mm-hmm.
you don't even try. And so now you lose the ambition, you lose the drive. you stop pursuing the passion, and you are trapped in that particular state where you're at right now, meaning you're not making any progress, right? You're not growing, you're not becoming better. So you're stuck right there. And the same thing with the arrogance, because I think I have it all together. I am getting all of the views. I am monetized already. I am having people get on my Patreon, and I'm doing the things that I want to do. Then I stop learning. I stop challenging myself. I stop looking at others who might be doing it a little better to try and learn from them or glean from them. And so I get stuck again. I haven't even reached my full potential because I think I've already reached my full potential.
We're talking about 5 reasons, 5 tips on why you need to overcome the comparison trap, in particular on YouTube, but we're going to even broaden this net to life.
Yeah.
Especially we as Black men during Black history of celebration. And so it's amazing how you just jump right away into reason number 1, comparison. It can become a cage. Never did a 5-year bid, a 10-year bid, or 15 or 25 to life, but I'm doing it in my mind, trapped in a cage. That's powerful. That is powerful. That is powerful.
Those psychological.
Go ahead.
The psychological cage, right? That mental and emotional cage that ultimately, and for some, will become a physical cage because we'll have physical ailments as a result of what's going on in our mind, right? And the hardest cage or prison to escape is that of the mind.
This is true. Hey, YouTube, if you're just joining us, let us know in the chat where you're watching us from. We are on Twitter. So we're giving Twitter some love as well. We appreciate the feedback that you're sending us in the message over in Twitter after the show. So keep sending it. And we're on Facebook. Hey, if you're getting great value, smash the like button, click the thumbs up, share this. This is one I'm going to plead with you. Share this on your favorite social media channel to say, hey, don't get stuck in the comparison trap. Reason number 2, comparing yourself to others can leave you in a place of dissatisfaction. I think was it Mick Jagger saying, I can't get no satisfaction. That's right there. Give us the Grammy, YouTube. Give us the Grammy. But break this down on why so many content creators can be in a place of dissatisfaction. Though they got a silver play button.
Yeah, man. Because what happens, we start to, as we're comparing ourselves to what somebody else is achieving and what is somebody else is doing, it's going to take away our ability to be content with what we have, with what we've accomplished. And their achievements, their success, their platform, their awards, it begins to overshadow what we may have actually accomplished, what we might be enjoying in terms of pursuing our passions and the impact that we are having on others. And I want to pause for a second because I think it's important that we talk about it, because we're talking about content creators and we're talking about YouTube and, Black men and all of that. So to me, content creation it's bringing something into existence for the purpose of education, information, sometimes just entertainment, but ultimately transformation. And whatever it is that you're curating, the content that you're creating, it must start from within, and it's coming from within you. It's a result of what you've learned. It's a result of your passions. It's a result of the life you live and what you've experienced. And then now you're just really sharing that with the world. Now, the hard part is branding it and finding somebody to, get the right colors and palettes and website and all of that. That's secondary to the fact that you have a passion within you. You are the content that you should be creating. And so when you start to compare yourself to what somebody else is doing, you lose sight of why you started in the beginning. You lose sight of what got you going. You lose sight of your own purpose, and you become dissatisfied with where you're at and what you've done because you haven't done X, Y, and Z like this person, or I haven't achieved what I wanted to, but this person has. So now I'm dissatisfied with where I'm at. And that's what comparison does to us. It makes us dissatisfied with our own progress. and our own achievements and our own, sometimes even our own platform. The next thing you know, you're tearing stuff up, tearing down the walls, trying to redo it. And it really wasn't necessary. You
It
just felt
wasn't
like you wasn't
necessary.
where somebody else needed to be. And the danger is, Walt,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of times, especially in this world of social media, we're comparing our journey,
Mm-hmm.
right? Our journey and our progress really to somebody else's highlight.
Mm.
Because we see the highlight, we see them put the post that they just reached 2,000 subscribers.
Mm-hmm.
We see that post that they just got invited to speak at this big conference.
Mm-hmm.
We see this post that they're doing this, 6-figure media business now, and it started on YouTube. We just see that post.
Right.
And then we compare our real life reality with one of their highlights and think, oh man, I'm missing the mark. I haven't gotten there. I'm dissatisfied. But we don't get to compare our reality and our journey with their entire journey to get to that highlight that they're sharing with you. And that's the danger. There is a journey that's behind that highlight, but we often don't get to see it because the most times people are not talking about their entire journey. They're just sharing the successes and the happy moments and all of that. And that's why it's so dangerous to compare yourself and get dissatisfied with where you're at and what you've accomplished on your own journey, looking at somebody else's highlight. I remember a time there was my wife used to have this moms group, and a few of the moms were talking, and in that group I used to go in every now and then and kind of stalk them, see what they're talking about, and they would share highlights of their days. They've been out at the park with the kids, and they went to the gym and worked out with the kids, or they took the kids to the museum, and it's all this type of stuff going through there, right? And then one day I remember seeing some moms sharing like this picture of the messy floor and the messy play area and all of that stuff. And I began to think about, most of the times those moms get in the car, right? They pack all the kids up and they're driving to go to the playground, and all the kids are smiling and they're happy, and the mom turns around and snaps a picture on their phone, takes that picture and just leaves it in the phone. Right after that, she remembers she forgot the pacifier or for the 1-year-old, or the snacks in the Ziplocs for this kid, and this kid forgot his glasses, and next thing you know, the kids are getting hungry and the drive is too long and they're antsy and they're crying. They get to the park. One kid falls down the slide. Another kid bites another kid. She gets into it with that kid's mom. Another kid loses his favorite bear, and the kids are crying. Kids are hungry. The park situation is a mess. And she's like, you know what? Forget it. We're getting in the car. We're leaving. And they get in the car and they're driving back home, and they're crying and she's crying and everybody's all upset because of the park day didn't go well. And then she gets home at the end of the day, sees that picture that she took before all hell breaks loose, puts a caption with that picture and says, "Great day at the park with the kids." All we saw was great day at the park with the kids. But now I'm that mom that thinks, man, her kids are always smiling and happy, and mine back here. Come on. And we do the same thing in every area of our lives. Well,
I need to let y'all let that breathe for a moment. In church, they would call that a Selah moment. Pause, calmly think of that. That's what Selah means. If you ever read in the Psalms, what Selah means, to pause and calmly think about what Mr. Jackson has just said to us. Though we use the mothers, what he said to us all.
Yeah.
That's powerful.
I've done it. I'm guilty of it. I'm guilty of it.
Hey, if you're getting great value out of this great piece of content, this man is an Emmy Award, just like Mr. Hicks. YouTube is going to catch up and say, we need to bring on some Emmy Award winning shows like Mr. Jackson, like Mr. Hicks on YouTube television, because they are already on Roku, right? On Amazon. YouTube are going to say, we're going to have to bring them on so we can get some Emmys for YouTube, because you guys are pumping out some great content. Great content.
And I appreciate that. Speaking it, claiming it. Yeah,
Yes.
Mr. James Hicks does. He does. He's doing great things. Also, my guy Steve Word, I see him in the comments. Great shows. He just relaunched a whole new thing, and right on time with what he's doing. Podcast is live, for real, man. Him, James the Truth. I love those guys.
Definitely. We also want to give a shout out to Miss Laura Williams. Most of the time we all in the chat, but I'm sitting here glued to the screen because this man is pumping out truth on 5 reasons, 5 tips why we need to avoid the comparison trap. Where we at here? Is it comparison number 3? I saw in your, and see, I'm a person who seeks God's truth. And so when he leads me to a video that talks about avoiding the comparison trap, you talked about avoiding being confused, in a state of confusion. It's okay sometimes if you get confused, but you stay in a state of confusion and you lack in clarity because you're in the comparison trap. Oh man, break it down for us.
Yeah, man. That's good right there. I think the more time you spend pursuing your own passions, right, and your purpose and your calling and trying to put your gifts and talents to use. And when I talk about purpose, I think it's important to sort of define what I mean when I say your purpose as we move to talking about clarity. As your talents and your gifts and your abilities, the things that you do well, that and the things you do in a way that is different from somebody else, those things, as they come face to face and intersect with a need, a human need, therein lies purpose. That's when you start to meet your purpose. And you really don't discover that without doing things. You got to do stuff. You got to get out there. You got to see what it is that you like, see where you're making an impact, and you'll see where your talents and your gifts, your abilities, your insight intersect with other needs, human needs. And now you're able to fulfill your purpose. Well, when you are doing that, Walter, when you are doing that, you don't have time to be distracted and be discouraged by what somebody else is doing, because you will constantly be pursuing what it is you know you have been called to do and you do well. And as you do that, you gain more clarity and insight into how to do it, how to be able to achieve the level of success that they may have, but within your own lane. See, being clear about first who you are and what you are able to do and feel like you are called to do, being clear of that will then bring the clarity that you need to put those gifts, talents, abilities, and that calling to use in the right way that's going to have the impact that it needs to have on the people and the places that are assigned to you. And we lack clarity because we're seeing what everybody else is doing. And we think, I need to go and start this podcast.
Okay.
Like, this is why I can't grow. I've been doing live video, but I need to go start an actual podcast because I just saw that Dr. Martin has a podcast and he's talking about being monetized, and I want to do that. So I probably should go start a podcast. Or I just see that this person launched a brand clothing line, t-shirts and sweaters, and I haven't done it yet. Maybe I should do that. That's why they're being successful in making 6 figures, because they've added the and so now I'm like just taking everybody else's ideas for the sake of it without any real intentionality. And now I'm just confused, and now I don't have any clarity about what I'm trying to achieve and how I need to go about achieving it, because I'm just comparing myself to what others are doing, right? And so now somebody else's platform becomes the benchmark for me determining my success, and it becomes the benchmark and the reference point for me defining what I am and who I am, and whether or not I'm being successful, and whether or not I'm hitting the mark. And you can't be clear.
Right.
You can't have clarity in the midst of all of that.
No.
That's why it's so dangerous.
Wow. And sometimes it's just also about timing. Those things may be coming down the pipe. You know, it's interesting. I finally got the clothing line for the Huddle release, but every time I go to pull the trigger, the Holy Spirit says to me, no, not time. Not time for you to post it and make it go live yet. I'm like, but I got the Huddle, I got the hoodies, I got the shirts. Lord, don't you? I'm talking to the omnipotent God, almighty, powerful, awesome creator of heaven and earth. And I'm telling, Lord, don't you understand that the winter season up here in the East Coast is over? And if I don't put the hoodies up now to sell, I'm gonna lose an opportunity. You talking about you want to make God laugh, but then I wonder why I ain't got clarity on timing.
Yeah.
Timing
Yeah.
on
That's
everything.
the thing, man. And I don't want to get ahead of where I know the conversation is going, but it's okay to kind of look around and see and have some plans for growing to certain levels and implementing certain strategies within your platform, your business, what it is
Mhm,
that you're building. And it's okay to get those ideas from other sources, people who are doing it well,
mhm,
right? That's okay. And we should do that. Cause like you and I were talking backstage, we don't have all the answers. We're not experienced in everything just right out the gate that is going to take to build a business, to build a YouTube channel, to be successful on YouTube, get to the point that you are monetized. Like we don't know. We have to learn. And sometimes it takes learning from others.
okay.
Right. But the problem is if we are so quick to implement everything without, like you just said, pausing
Mhm,
and thinking about it from a strategy point of
mhm,
when is the right time to make this investment, what does it look like, and making those type of goals, then we will be distracted and dissatisfied, and we will be spending dollars and time in places and arenas that we shouldn't just yet, because
mhm,
we're kind of out of order with stuff. I mentioned podcasts, I mentioned t-shirts and clothing lines because those have been two things that on my journey I was
mhm,
like, I need to do this right now, I need to do this right now, and it just didn't work out because it wasn't timing.
mhm.
It wasn't the time.
Hey, if you're getting great value out of this discussion on 5 reasons and tips why you need to avoid the comparison trap. Are you, and let me make this from a biblical standpoint for all our church scholars in the chat. You remember David when he slayed Goliath and he came back home and Saul said he heard the women singing, Saul killed his thousands, David killed his 10,000s. And the Bible says Saul eyed David. He eyed him. He had his eye on David in the wrong way because he was comparing himself from the
Yep.
standpoint of the victories.
Right.
Are we falling victim to the comparison trap of Saul?
Mm.
I know church is for tomorrow for some and maybe today, but I thought I put that out. So when you hear your pastor speak that tomorrow, are you falling victim to the Saul syndrome? Let me know in the chat. Are you David, hashtag David, or hashtag Saul? We'll pass the offering plate. Smash the like button, punch the like button, share, and subscribe on this channel. Reason number 4.
I love that.
Comparing
Okay.
yourself, the comparison trap can cause you to be disqualified. So let me clarify this. I've never run track and field all my life,
Mhm.
Charles.
Okay.
But 2 things I've understand about track and field: 4x4 relay races. If you pass the baton and you to the next person, and if you don't catch it the right way, and if you drop it, your team can be disqualified.
Correct.
That's one thing I learned about track and field. The second thing I learned about track and field is if you are running in someone else's lane and you are so fortunate to win the race, and the judge says you were supposed to have been in lane number 5, you won in lane 6, you are disqualified. Comparing yourself is like almost being in the wrong lane.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. That's good. That's a perfect way to put it. And I have a great example of that. And it sort of speaks to the question that James Hicks had dropped in the chat about
Mhm.
sharing your backstory of your journey. Do you feel we should do more of that? And my short answer is absolutely yes. We should. Like
Mhm.
we definitely should as creators. Um, we should. So as I think about even another thing that can disqualify you is passing the baton past a certain point on the track. Also, you can
Hmm.
be disqualified for.
Mhm.
But to stick with that running in your lane, I remember looking at the one wheel, that sort of one wheel skateboard thing,
Mhm.
that real popular in a lot of those areas where you can commute to work, short distance, and just other places. So it's kind of blowing up. It's the one wheel, almost like a skateboard, but it's literally one wheel,
Mhm.
like a little hoverboard, and you balance on in the sky. I remember seeing that and thinking, man, this is so cool. Like,
Mm-hmm.
who came up with this concept of this one wheel? It was four-wheel skateboards, and then it was, four-wheel skates and inline skates, and then we had hoverboards. And then I see the one wheel, and I felt like it was sort of a combination of all of that. And I thought, man, why couldn't I think of that? So
Mm-hmm.
then I began to do research on it because my son said he wanted one, and it's a pretty expensive piece of gear,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so I'm doing research, and I land on the about of the creator.
Mm-hmm.
And if you look at the one wheel, this will make sense. You will know why I'm sharing this story. I thought, oh my gosh, another opportunity. I need to go and invent something. Maybe that's where I'm falling short. I need to invent something. And for
Mm-hmm.
like a couple of days, I was wrestling with that. This is crazy. I'm
Right,
not,
right.
I'm not an inventor. That's not what I've been called to do. But
Mm-hmm.
this idea, this concept seems so simple to me that I thought I could have came up with that. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm reading his story, Walt. The guy that invented it, he grew up in a place where one, he used to skateboard a lot. He used to skateboard to work. That's how he got around.
Mm-hmm.
He also was a snowboarder. He used to
Mm-hmm.
snowboard around. And so, a snowboard is like the one board beneath you instead of two skis. He was a snowboarder. He
Mm-hmm.
also had a passion for hiking and outdoors and all those type of things. I began to listen to this guy tell his story of how one wheel was birthed. And I realized in listening to it that one wheel was birthed out of his journey and him being in his lane.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have the background and the experience and walking the path from when he was, I think it went back to like 6 years old
Mm-hmm.
until
Mm-hmm.
he's now in his 30s almost inventing the one wheel. I wasn't in that lane the whole time to be able to come up with the one wheel concept
Mm-hmm.
and to
Mm-hmm.
invent it. If I would have tried to just sit down and go and create something, I would have been out of my lane and I wouldn't have been qualified to do it really because I would have just been fishing with all of these ideas and all over the place. So when you talk about being disqualified, I think sometimes, yes, jumping into somebody else's lane, trying to do what somebody else is doing when you
Mm-hmm.
don't have the experience, when you don't have the maybe education, when
Mm-hmm.
you don't have the background, but more specifically, the passion and
Mm.
the journey will disqualify you.
Wow.
Because now you're trying to operate in a place and in a space where, like, if you're a believer,
Mm-hmm.
God hasn't called you to operate and be in.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Now, some of us may figure out some things and have a degree of success trying our hands at things because we just have that type of ability.
Mm-hmm.
But we won't have the full measure of success and satisfaction that the individual has when their success is a part of the journey that led them to it, if that makes, you know what I mean?
Yes,
And
sir. Oh,
so there's
yeah,
a different
definitely.
level of satisfaction when there's a journey and a process tied behind now the success that you're seeing. I shared this post a long time ago. It's been the most impactful one for me.
Mm-hmm.
Long time ago on my Twitter account. I said that the success that you see a man having on the mountaintop is just a demonstration of what he learned and experienced when he was in the valley.
Mm-hmm. I'm trying not to turn this into church because if I could find me an organist right now, he would go. No, I'm sorry.
Don't bust out the Hammond.
Man, this is good. This is good. And and as content creators, we need to be, pardon my expression, we need to be smacked in the face with the truth of this. Especially when YouTube has its algorithms and it's pumping. You need to get your first 1,000 subscribers. You
Yeah,
need to get your first 4,000 hours of watch time.
right.
The videos on 10,000 subscribers, and then we miss the journey.
Yeah.
The journey that from when you uploaded your first video and you said you were going to do it as 10 minutes and it turned into a 40-minute live stream before live stream even became popular. Those types of journeys.
Yeah,
This is good.
absolutely. With YouTube, you think about journeys on YouTube and comparison, man, that's so easy to get lost in that.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Mm-hmm.
it's easy to start comparing yourself and become distracted and dissatisfied and be in a cage. Those other three things we've already shared,
Mm-hmm.
four things we already shared. Like, it's easy to do that on YouTube because you're kind of sitting back watching again the polished version, the finished product. Like, if I sit down and watch Steve's video, or if I sit down and watch James' video, or your video, or JP's video, or Kirk's video,
Mm-hmm.
I'm watching it post production.
Right. I but
Every
not
now and then,
forget about the how many times they had to go to editing for it.
we're not seeing that. Every now and then, we do one of those time lapse and we show all of how many for fun. But
Mm-hmm.
typically, we're seeing the final product of it, and we're like, we're over here with cords everywhere. We've done 50 takes and we've done all of this. And we're like, we see the graphic and the overlay is on point. We don't know how many they've tried, how many they've thrown in the trash and deleted, how many times they've gone back to Photoshop and Canva to get that perfect overlay. We don't see that again. We're
Mm-hmm.
comparing our reality and our journey just with somebody else's highlight. And it's easy to do that on YouTube because usually what people are uploading, especially this day, it's polished.
Mm-hmm.
And I talk about my own journey. I
Mm-hmm.
started doing videos on my couch with a ring light and my phone.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how I was doing, videos. And then I jump over to YouTube and I see guys with, these like crisp images. And I'm like, what are they doing? How are they doing this? And my phone won't do this. And next thing you know, I'm getting camera equipment because I watched a YouTube video and this guy has a nice setup. He talked about camera and he talked about audio, and I'm spending money on audio, and I'm taking this product and I'm doing all of these things just because somebody else had did it. And I saw the final product. So I thought, okay, boom, I'm going to get that final product if I just get these things.
Mm-hmm.
But that wasn't the case because I didn't master how to bring it all together, how to use them. What's the point in having them and all that? I didn't have the education behind it, nor did I have the experience to
Mm-hmm.
tweak it and make these things work for me and my platform. What
Mm-hmm.
I want my YouTube videos to look and feel like. Do I
Mm-hmm.
want deep sound, soothing? Do I want an ambient background? Do I
Mm-hmm.
want high energy? Like, all of that. I'm not getting all of that from them quick 3-minute videos where they're telling me which camera to use. I don't get all of that. I
Right,
only
right.
get that, Walter, from going on my own journey.
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir. And I know we got another tip here, but I want to give a bonus tip for our good man James and Steve and all of those in the crew. The comparison trap can have you purchasing gear, gas acquisition too soon. Look, yes, your boy is working on a Logitech C922. The time is coming for the Sony and the Canon mirrorless cameras. It's coming. But the gas, I mean, have you ever experienced the comparison trap of purchasing too much equipment before it's time? And your wife is like, we got to pay the mortgage.
Right.
The car note is
Right.
coming. For those of us, I'm married. If hashtag in the chat, avoid the comparison trap. That's
Amazon
a
again, B&H again. I see one more B&H receipt.
and she looking at the chart at the credit card statement saying, how much? But dear, it's a write-off. It's a write-off. Now you ain't got no super chat in the chat on your live stream yet, but you keep telling her it's a write-off. I don't know why.
Oh,
As the preacher say, I don't know why I just went down this road.
Yep. Yes, sir. When I look at videos, I look at my old videos and, the graininess of them and the bad audio and how I'm right up against a wall. And, I'm just, and I'm looking around, my notes are over here, and it's just kind of all over the place, man. The light is real bright on this side, giving me that just everywhere, right? I'm looking at those old videos.
Make you looking like Casper the Ghost.
Looking like Casper the Ghost, right? But we had people and folks emailing us and DMing us and signing up for our coaching program and paying us to help them based on the content that we were sharing in those videos, even though they were grainy and I was looking like Casper, because again, what I was talking about was real.
Mhm.
It was
Mhm.
lived experience. It was my passion. It was what I knew I was called to talk about and speak about and educate and help people with during that time and during that season.
Mhm.
There was no fluff. It was all real. And people were still connecting with that and resonating with that. And we were still being successful, even while I was learning the lighting, the equipment, the
Mhm.
video, the audio, and all of that stuff that goes on into it now. And I thank God for the growth, but
Mhm.
that's not how I started. And so when you're out there, that content creation world, like you just said, sometimes you just have to start,
Mhm.
understanding that it's going to be a journey.
Mhm.
Let somebody else's success and finished product that you see be inspiration, not
Okay.
a discouragement or a distraction to you. Continue to deliver that great content that is within you while you build your audience and while you build your platform and grow your memberships and all of that.
Hey, if you're getting great value, smash the like button. Go in hashtag in the chat, great value. Hashtag great value, because this has truly been great value from the Emmy Award. I'm speaking it from Mr. James Hicks to our next guest, JP Hightech, Emmy Award guest, Black. This is the reason why we wanted top Black men content creators. We got some Black women that are top content. But I think it's important, Charles, for our young Black men, though they love, I want to be like Mike and LeBron. I'm not hating on that. They want to. We just saw Dr. Dre doing the Super Bowl. I'm not hating on that, but I wanted to create a platform where you can get front center stage, where they could see on Facebook. If I got to share it 100 times, they need to see this man as a content creator, as a husband, and as a father. Most importantly, as a servant and a man of God. Let me call it for what it is. This is what Black history is about, right here, right here,
Mhm.
right
I
here.
appreciate it. Those guys are acting up in the comments. I see them in the chat too, Steve and James.
I know I'm supposed to put y'all on the chat, but I'm all
Yeah,
over the
acting
place. See,
up.
y'all can grill me in the coaching class later. You didn't put up one comment during your show. I'm
Hey, we were
sorry.
in that conversation. Tell them we were
Yes,
deep in the
deep.
conversation.
We deep. As the hymn says, wade in the water. I'm sorry. Okay. Sorry. I want to take people to church. Reason number 5, to avoid the comparison trap. If you don't, you will be robbed of creativity and joy.
Yeah, that's a big one, man. And I'm glad we saved that for the end. As I was putting together that video where I talked about these 5 traps and really vices to you being able to grow, I thought about the creativity and the joy piece and really just peace, having peace within yourself with what you're doing. And that's really big. I felt like in 2020,
Mhm.
a lot of content creators got really dissatisfied and
Mhm.
lost the joy with what they were doing in the previous year.
Mhm.
And that's because with the changes with COVID and everything shifting from a delivery standpoint, a lot of people started streaming. A lot of professional folks with a lot of resources started streaming, and they have all the gear and they got the tech and they got the teams and they got the background and the experience to have some very, very, very nice YouTube channels and shows and episodes. And they had the connections to get the right guests. And they had these huge platforms, like Salesforce and other things. And then, Ecamm came and StreamYard came. But like a whole, this it was this shift because of the pandemic with how we deliver content, because it wasn't just a person blogging about the food that they eat on their cell phone, walking around the restaurant or walking around Italy with a what do we call them? A selfie stick,
Right.
a
Right.
selfie
Right.
stick, and no lapel mic or nothing. It
Mhm.
wasn't a person who was just a traveler going through caves with their cell phone and a GoPro, or scuba diving with a GoPro. Like, it was big businesses and organizations who can invest
Mhm.
and pay people to build some phenomenal channels.
Mhm.
And that exploded on YouTube. And a lot of us saw that. And I
Mhm.
think it caused us to get discouraged with our little cell phone videos with our selfie sticks. Like, we were now,
Mm.
and we are now just trying to replicate what somebody else was doing. I'm trying to be like the Waltz and the JP and the Kirk and the Marshall Falks, and I'm trying to do what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And some of these other businesses that jumped on, the YouTube space, I'm trying to do what they're doing now.
Mm-hmm.
So now my own creativity is stifled because I'm just
Mm-hmm.
mimicking.
Say that
I'm just
again.
mimicking and imitating. I'm not being creative.
Not being original.
There's so much to choose from now. Just do what somebody else is doing.
Mm-hmm.
I lose the originality of what I was bringing for my platform and my creativity. And because now I'm just trying to do what somebody else is doing, figure out how they're doing it, learn it their way, and really just replicate what I see out there in the YouTube and the streaming world, I lose my joy because I'm not being creative. I'm not being inspired by those thoughts that I get at night, and I get up and go into my office and turn on the camera and start recording or start doing a graphic because I had an idea when I was sitting down with my son eating ice cream or something, or I saw this over here. That goes away.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just copy, plagiarize, replicate, duplicate, and then boom, be successful. Once you lose your creativity, once you lose your joy, you will become trapped in that cage because now you're just going through the motions and you're ultimately going to be burned out.
In a place of burnout. And then the burnout just spreads right into the family, whether you're at the basketball game with your son and instead of you encourage your son just because he missed a shot. Why did you miss that shot? You were supposed to do the follow through on that shot. When you busy trying to compare yourself with someone on YouTube, you taking it out on your son. I'm sorry, I should not go there. This is not a family focused show. We leave that to the expert. But then your wife is saying, honey, you're not smiling.
Right.
I missed that smile.
Right. Because you're burned out mentally and emotionally now. And then, like you say, who gets it? Who gets it? Those close to us get the backlash, they get the frustration, and they get to bear that now because we got to get it out. And we don't even know what it is. We're frustrated. We're frustrated because we tried to spend 12 hours learning this new camera trick with an overlay because we saw somebody else do it that's really not relevant to what we're trying to do.
Oh, Lord. That's why I'm sticking with one camera angle right now, because I don't want to stress my wife and my daughter out to me having, because they already on me about the living room. I'm in the living room. The huddle is in the living room. So we're going to get our own place. But she already said to me this morning, man, I can't wait till I get you in your own place for the show.
When I'm ready to get I've had, multiple camera angles before, but when I'm ready to really do it and really do it right, I'm going to hit up my man, Steve Worthy. Steve Worthy got back shots, over shots, under shots, corner shots where he like turns around and look up like, hey folks, you can get every side of me is good. So I can get you from this side. And it's incredible. It's incredible. But because I am a little bit closer to Steve, I know that's not how he started.
Yes,
I know that wasn't his.
Right, that's true.
That's a highlight, and it's amazing right now. But personally, because we rock together in these streaming worlds a little bit, I know that's not how he started. So when I go to him and be like, brother, hook me up, help me get there. When I look at Steve's production, there's no discouragement on my part or dissatisfaction there, or no jealousy, envy. And that's something that we should talk about, no jealousy and envy, because Steve shared his story with us. But it shouldn't just be Steve sharing his story that allows us to celebrate what somebody else is doing and achieving. As Black men, we should be able to lift and celebrate one another up just naturally and genuinely. But one problem with comparing yourself and being in that trap, we get to this place that when somebody else does fail or something does go wrong on their end, inwardly, we're kind of happy. And it's because we were like comparing ourselves to them and what they're achieving and what they're accomplishing that we don't even realize that we're low key. When they have a setback, we feel a little bit better because they're like, all right, they're human, or they don't have it all together, or they're not as smart as I thought it was, or look, they're struggling too. Like, these are the dangers, especially from a spiritual perspective, with comparing yourself to somebody, because that sense of now being, and we probably will never admit it or say it out loud, but happy that somebody else failed will eat at us And that's not what we've been called to do.
No,
That's not how
absolutely
we've been
not.
called to live.
Right. You can't be falling victim to the Saul. The
Yeah.
Saul, just because you killed your 1,000 and David killed his 10,000, when you really read the scripture, they wasn't talking about like, you know how we exaggerate. Man, I got this man who got thousands of dollars, and I got this man who got 10,000. They don't really got it, but it's just that emphasis.
Yeah.
And we no.
Yeah. Yeah, we're gonna have Steve Worthy on CBS, NBC. It's coming.
Yes, sir. Oh, yes, sir. Hashtag Black Men of Excellence. That's what we celebrating here. That's what we celebrating here. Let me drop this 3 things you wish you knew before starting. And I guess we kind of like jumped all to the final question. 3 things you wish you knew before you started your content creation journey, not just on YouTube, but just your journey building your platform.
Yeah, that's a good question. The first thing that I would say, the most important thing is understanding that I wish I knew when I started that content creation must come from within. Because if it comes from within, it's easy, Walt. It just flows. You're not trying to imitate what somebody else is saying, and you're just repeating what somebody else said. Like it's coming from your own passion and your purpose and coming from within. It's easy to create content. Like if I open up the 15, 20 notebooks that I have all around my house, the pages and pages of notes on my cell phone, the books that have notes in them in the margins. Like you can go anywhere in my house and find content that I've written, whether it's a quote, a thought, a long one or a short one, or an idea for a video, an idea for Instagram or a LinkedIn, or a new strategy that I want to share. It's all over my house because it just comes to me because it's coming from within. So as it comes from within, from my life, whether it's about leadership, whether it's about relationships, whether it's about being a Black man in this country and talking race, it's all about my lived experience. My education, studying criminal justice at the master's level or marriage and family relationships at the master's level. It's just an overflow of who I am. And if I would have known that in the beginning, I wouldn't have been trying to replicate and just repeat what somebody else was saying. The second thing is, I wish I knew that the YouTube space and live video space, right? That it can get costly, and you have to be willing to invest the money to have a nice setup, to have the nice camera and the lights and to do all of that. It does take an investment. And I would have went about it a little bit differently if had I known that, like, look, you need to start setting stuff aside. Don't just go out and buy all the stuff that you don't know how to use. Now I got a whole closet of gear to my right over here that I was just purchasing and purchasing without any strategy and without any, knowledge of how to use. That's just sitting now and going to waste. So I wasted a lot of money because I didn't understand how to do this from a financial standpoint properly. And the last thing that I'll say that I think I wish I knew when I first started, that if you are just not focused on those big numbers of 1,000 followers and the subscribers so that you can get monetized, if you are not focused on those things first, if you're just focused on the content like we talked about earlier, the numbers will come. The subscribers will come. The opportunity to monetize will come. Like all of that will come. Just do this first. But what happened, I started watching videos that was talking about monetizing, and I haven't got my first follower yet. I don't even have the good lighting in the audio yet. You know what I mean? Like I was out of order. So I wish I would have known. But what it has done, it's allowed me to now be able to share my insight and my wisdom through Charles Jackson Media and coach others. Folks now pay me and hire me to come and consult them as they set up their home studios or they set up their YouTube channels. And you must know, I start with those 3 mistakes that I made.
Mhm.
That's like one of the first conversations I have with them before I talk about any camera or light. I talk about those things that I've learned that looking back, I'm like, man, this probably would have helped me, but I needed it because now I'm putting it to use in a different way.
Mhm. Hey, Romans 8:28, all things work together for the good of those that love God and are called according to his purpose.
Yes,
Nothing
sir.
is wasted, but
Yeah.
it is used for the master's use. Hey, Charles, everything is in the description, but in the chat and those of who are going to watch the replay, let them know where they can get more information about Charles Jackson Media if they want to connect with you or needing help with being able to get into content creation. How can they, what's best to reach out to you?
Yeah. So website, first and foremost, charlesjackson.media. You can go there, go into charlesjackson.media. You'll
Mhm.
be able to find me everywhere else in terms of social media. Instagram, my handle is at Charles Jackson Media. On YouTube, it's Charles Jackson Media. Same thing with LinkedIn and Facebook. We have a media page, but it's all Charles Jackson Media. And I think it's important to know that as you go into this space of content creation and you're reaching out to folks, be intentional about that. Let it be something that draws you to that individual to connect with them. And I think those type of connections are important and they go a long way. And so yes, please, 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 if there's anything that you've seen and heard from me during this past hour that resonates with you and you feel like I'm somebody that you want to connect with just to learn from, just to get some of the free information and resources and tips that I put out there about leadership, tech, and culture on all your social media platforms. Please do. I would love to connect with you. You want to share your feedback, send me a DM. I'm open to it. But if you want to work together in any capacity, I do executive consulting. I do personal coaching for media. I would love to connect with you. Go over to charlesjackson.media. You'll be able to find me on all your favorite platforms.
Hey, sir, thank you so much for being on the huddle. I'm speaking it. I'm calling those things that be not as though they were as YouTube television because they already pushing NBA finals. They gonna seek out James. They gonna seek out Steve. They gonna seek out JP. But they're gonna seek out you. And then the huddle. I'm coming. I'm coming.
Huddle coming too.
Award
Huddle,
winning
that's coming.
is coming. They're gonna, instead of promoting NBA finals, they're gonna say, "Hey, Race Talks Uncut.
Mm,
Check it out with Charles Jackson, Steve Worthy, Retail Leadership, and JP Content University." And then my man James Hicks, Perspective Focus,
so good.
great content creators. If I forgot anyone,
Who-
y'all can blast me in the instant messenger.
I,
I'm sorry. I
I
know I
never
didn't put.
told I never told James this, but I had to redo my whole like a podcast title because he had the word perspective in his, and I was headed down this road with the word perspective in my podcast, and then he popped out with that, and I had to just start over from scratch. I never had a conversation with you, James, but it's all worked out because now I'm exactly where I needed to be with the podcast relaunch. But I was like low key, like, man, James got perspective in his now I can't do it. And I waited too late. I'll beat myself up. I'm like, I sat on it too long. I sat on it too long. Now I done missed out. God was like, nah, that
Mm.
was for James. I got another place for you to be with your title. So, anyways,
Hey,
my guy.
hey, keep us right in the right lane where we want to be, so we won't be disqualified. Question of the day: have you fallen victim to the comparison trap of comparing yourself to someone else on YouTube or just in life? And if you did, put in the chat, or those of you watching the replay in the comment section, what tips did you employ to get yourself free of the comparison trap? Because we don't need nobody being on death row. Now I know you ain't been up to the federal and the state federal prison, but I'm talking about that prison in your mind that you on death row, that dead thinking that you think that you got to be like everybody else. You got to be like Mike instead of being yourself. Just
Mm.
keep, as my daughter says, Dad, just keep it 100. Keep it 100. So we love to hear your feedback. Hey, if you gotten great value, as we always say, smash the like button, share this. And also, if this content has really spoken to you, we would encourage you to subscribe to the channel as we're growing, because we're not looking at the numbers. Yeah, we have 199. We would love 200, but
let's get them.
It's about getting content creation. And Charles, I appreciate just reminding me, don't focus on that one to get you 200. Just keep focused on that one great piece of content.
Yes,
so
sir.
I appreciate you reminding me of that today.
Outstanding, man. Thanks for having me, Walt.
Definitely. And if God's willing and Tommy, we'd love to have you back soon. We got to put a panel together about, like you said, buying gear before it's time, getting James, Steve, yourself, JP on, and putting a panel show together just to educate us. And I don't want to make this a race or a black thing. It's a content creator. But I think we need, as black men and black creators, need to have these conversations.
Absolutely.
We need to have these conversations. So, hey, we appreciate every person that has been in the chat this morning, and those of you on Twitter for checking us out. We're going to go ahead and get out of here. We want you to be able to consume this content. And so we are excited for next week. Oh, man, Mr. JP High Tech.
Nice.
Let me tell you, to close out this series on Black Men of Excellence, we could have got Don Lemon. I know. Yeah, we could have got Barack Obama. I know. Yeah, I know I could have got Senator Booker from New Jersey, but we got JP High Tech. Who better to close out the series? So we'll check you out next week as me and Charles kick it in the green room. See you next week.
Peace, everyone.